Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Convos with Anita Santiago podcast. I am your host, Anita Santiago. Please like, follow, share, subscribe, and review the podcast on all the major platforms. And as always, if you want to reach out to me, you can reach me at convoscws@gmail.com. So we are on this journey of self-improvement. We are in this mode of how can we do better in 2025. And so those are the topics that we've been touching upon. And I want to touch on a topic today that I think is kind of important. So let's talk about your understanding or your efforts in planning for the future, specifically retirement. I'm fascinated that many people that I talk to in my personal life have a 401k, but they really don't understand it, or they don't know the funds that they're invested in, or they haven't taken the time to learn a lot about it. And I think especially in times where the stock market has a lot of activity up or down, knowledge is power. And this is an area of your life that if you become very competent in it can pay off big time for you. What I mean, for a large majority of Americans, there's no more pension plans. Your only retirement is going to be your 401k and or Social Security. If you're a young person and you're not really making that much money, you may not see a purpose in putting away as much as you can. And if you're in the older generations, or I don't know if I want to say older, let's say more seasoned generations, you may not have been diligent in your savings. So this is an area of improvement, I think, that many of us can jump on, and it can pay huge dividends for us. So let's start with the basics. A 401k plan is a savings plan that is typically invested in the stock market. For some federal and state employees, you have a similar plan. It's just not called 401k. And 401k comes from the portion of the tax code where all of this was established. So 401ks are retirement saving plans that allow employees to typically put in an amount, a certain percentage of pay, tax deferred for the traditional 401k, for the traditional type. That money goes into the 401k tax deferred, and sometimes employers match those amounts, and sometimes they don't. There have been some evolutions of the 401k. So now you have the Roth investments, which allows you to put money in after you've paid taxes on it. And the biggest difference between the traditional and the Roth is that when you start taking distributions from the Roth, um, because you've already paid taxes on it, then it's tax free when it comes out. Now, I'm using the term 401k. That also includes individual retirement accounts that you would set up at a bank that are not through an employer. So, in this new age of no real retirement, your retirement is in your own hands. And whether or not you have enough money to retire is something that has to be attended to. And if this is not on your radar as far as goal setting, you should add it. You should add it. So let's talk about why this is important. Well, we know that the average Social Security payout today is somewhere between $1,200 and $1,700 if you take distribution like around 62. If you wait till you fully or at full retirement age, it may be substantially more than that. But for most people who take Social Security at age 62, $1,200 to $1,700 today, 2025. No, you can't make it on that. You can't, there's no way you can make it on that. More than likely, You're going to have expenses in retirement. Your stuff is not going to be paid off. And you're going to need to calculate how much income you have so that you are actively putting away enough money to ensure that you'll be good. Um, there's a lot of debate on whether Social Security is going to be around or not going to be around. And I think you can do retirement planning um, considering that you may have Social Security and considering you may not. But let's break down like how to put this on your radar and what you need to be doing to make sure that you're hitting your savings goals. So the first thing is contribute whatever you can to your 401k, IRA, 403b, whatever your vehicle is. Make sure you're contributing to it. For many people living paycheck to paycheck, let's just be real here. We it's hard to have a lot of stuff coming out of your check. However, if you start with the minimum, in a lot of places that's 3%, 5%, start there and continue as your income grows, continue to increase what you're putting into that IRA or that 401k. That is the long-term strategy of putting money away, is what's going to make sure that you have money available to retire. I believe when this first came up for me many, many years ago, I want to say it was like in the early 90s, they were saying a person needed to have $1 million in their retirement savings account, IRA, 401k, 403b, whatever it is, to retire comfortably in the 90s. Just looking at how prices are going up, homes have gone up, things have gone up, we know that's not really going to be enough for you to actively retire on. And so you're going to have to bust a move, so to speak, to put that money away to make sure that you are saving. I would even say that, having a goal in mind. Well, I want to save $5,000 this year, $10,000 this year, and figuring out what that looks like per paycheck so that you make sure you hit that target. That's the first part. You have to contribute and start where you can do it comfortably. You shouldn't contribute to the point where, of course, it's messing you up in other areas of your life, but it should be comfortable. The other piece of this is understanding what funds your particular account is invested in. So if you have an IRA at a bank, you're going to have a range of funds that you can invest in from high risk to low risk. Do you know what your risk tolerance is? Many people don't because they've never thought about it that way. Some people, they don't like taking a lot of risk. And if you fall in that category where you're low risk, your risk tolerance is low, then you want to pick funds that have low risk. But you have to read something called a prospectus, which is the thing that tells you all about the fund. It tells you where that fund invests, what types of things they invest in, and what their rate of return has been over time. You need to adequately evaluate that information to understand if that particular fund is good for you to invest in. Now, for most of us that are living every day, taking care of kids, paying bills, and trying to live our lives, sitting down and reading perspectives after perspectives after perspectives is like, it sounds daunting. But in actuality, this is the only way to kind of know if that fund is a good thing for you individually. If you are more of a high risk person and you feel comfortable putting more of your money in those funds, you would read the prospectus for the different funds that are offered for your retirement account, and you can pick those high risk funds if that's what you feel comfortable with. You can do a mix of funds, some high risk and some low risk. This is investing 101. And for most of us, I don't think we realize the fact that we have to be investors or investment minded to manage our retirement savings. For most people, do you really think about your retirement savings on a daily basis, or is that something far off that I'll deal with that later? Well, it doesn't take long for later to pop up. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm getting ready to retire. I may only have 20, 30, 40, $50,000 in my account. And then what? That's not going to last you very long. When you think about all the expenses that you may have in retirement. Sure, it'd be great if your house and cars are paid off, but you still may have medical expenses, you still may have student loans, you still may have a lot of things that you're paying for when you retire. So this is an area that is really, really important. And I can't emphasize and stress how important it is for you to really sit down and understand the different pieces of your fund, how much money is going out, and what your return on investment is. So, first, step one, contribute. Second, understand the funds that are available to you, understand your risk tolerance, and how you want to invest your funds. Three, understand what the return on investment is. So, when you log into your online account, it will tell you what percentage your mix of investments have earned over the last year, over the last 3 years, over the last 5 years. So you want to make sure that your retirement account is earning money and not losing money so that you can build it up. I remember in the 90s, we had this time where the stock market dropped like 982 points, almost 1,000 points in a day. I think they called it was Black Monday or Black Friday. I can't really remember. But I remember people walking around at work flabbergasted by how much they had lost in their retirement account because many, many people had 100% of their funds in the higher risk funds. So when the market took a downturn, those people weren't well positioned to weather the storm. This is why you really have to understand the funds that you're invested in and how they work together. Because if you have a mix of high risk and low risk funds in your retirement account, then when those lows come, you may be able to weather the storm better and recover a lot faster than if you have all your funds in a higher risk account. So you really have to understand your return on investment to understand how your retirement savings is growing. And it used to be, a 6% return on investment was good. Well, is that good if things are going up by 20, 15, and 20% price wise? Now, are you going to get a 15 or 20% return on investment? Probably not. And oh, by the way, caveat, I am not an investment expert. I'm just speaking from real real world experience. I mean, how many conversations have you had in the last 12 months about your retirement account? Maybe some of you have had those conversations, but when I bring this up, when I'm talking to people I know, I'm always a little shocked that people don't prioritize this. We're at a point where we may not have any safety net um, when it comes to retirement. So I think it's in our best interest to learn about these things, to understand these things so that we can position ourselves to hit our goal of being comfortable in retirement. So contribute, understand your funds, understand return on investment. Now, learning about these kind of things can be overwhelming, especially if finance and investment is not your thing. If that's not a thing that just resonates with you and moves you and you just get really interested by it and you start hearing people talk about finances and you start falling asleep, yeah, It makes it hard to do this. But just like taxes and medical insurance, the responsibility is on the end user to understand what they need and what they're doing and how to get there. There's no one looking out for you. There's no one saying, I want you to get the best out of your 401k. If you put money in there, you might be okay, and if you don't, you're going to have a hard time, and there's nobody there to just walk you through. There's a lot of ways you can learn the basics about financial management, investment, and moving yourself towards your retirement goals. First, books. There are books that you can pick up, to understand the basic lingo, the language, the principles behind investing so that you can make the best decisions for your retirement account. YouTube University, TikTok University. There are many, many amazing people that talk about these topics in plain language that help listeners understand and get a better handle on what it is they need to do for themselves. There are investment groups and meetups, online and in person, where people get together and they invest together. And those groups are not always retirement focused. But here's another part of this. Your 401k or your IRA can't be the only thing you invest in for retirement. You probably need other savings accounts, CDs. There's a plethora of different ways to save money, but understanding what works for you and what's best for you is a personal and individual decision. As I just think the American concept of saving is really dissipated over the years. I remember when I was little, like you had multiple piggy banks. You had multiple banks and you saved all your coins and then you rolled them up and you went to the bank and you had your savings account and they stamped your book. And I'm really telling my age now. They stamped your book and, you learned how to save, and that was a value, or that was something that was very common back then. And now I feel like with digital currency, cards, and the way money moves electronically, it's a lot harder to save. It's a lot harder to save. I've seen things on social media, save $1 here, $2 here, $5 here, and at the end of the savings plan, you get to a certain amount of money. Those might be ways to get started with being comfortable with savings. And then as you get comfortable with savings, you can take those principles and those strategies and use them when it comes to retirement. But honestly, in this environment, I think we need to be a little bit more proactive in making sure that we have everything in place that we need financially when we get ready to retire. Who wants to work? I mean, if you want to work till you don't want to work, there's nothing wrong with that. But if it becomes you have to work because the money isn't there, that can be really hard. Some people may not even see a way they can ever retire because this isn't something that they've really attended to. So let me encourage you. If you're one of those people that never ever thought about saving, IRA, retirement account, it's never too late. Start somewhere. Start where you are. Get busy. If you're putting $5 a day, $5 a pay period away, that's more than zero. And again, you build from there. That's not where you stop. That's where you start. And it's a building process. Also, another thing that might be very helpful, especially if you're a person that's had many jobs over your lifetime, do you have money sitting on the table in in 401k or retirement plans that you never rolled over. They're just sitting out there. Do you know where they are? Do you know how to get a hold to them? And you have to be very careful because when you have money in retirement plans, if you touch that money, it's taxable. But if you roll it over to another retirement plan, it is not. So if you've been a person that's had many, many jobs over your lifetime, have you collected all of the money from all of those retirement plans and put them in one place? Either an IRA account at your bank or the retirement plan of the employer you're at now, or if you're self-employed, a self-employed IRA. And again, business owners, entrepreneurs, look into that. Look into the self-employed retirement plans that you can create and be putting money in. If you are an entrepreneur, this applies to you too, not just the people that punch the 9 to 5 clock. Entrepreneurs need to be diligent about saving for retirement or saving for the point that you're no longer doing your business. And there are people out there that can advise you on that, and that's their specialty. My goal is to bring awareness to this to you. Even if you're an entrepreneur and you don't feel like you're making a lot of money, take some of the money that you're making. If you made $25, put $5 in a retirement account. If you made $10, put $2 in a retirement account. There's no right and wrong way to do it. You just have to do it. And I think that's where many people fall short. They feel like, well, if I don't have $100 a pay period or $50 a pay period, then what's the point? The point is you can earn interest, or that $2 can grow to $4. But if you never put it in there, you won't realize the return on the investment. So as you are making your list of things you're doing better in 2025, make attending to your future in terms of retirement saving a big part of that. Make sure you talk to your young people about it. Did you know that when it comes to an individual retirement account at a bank, there's no age requirement. Like, you don't have to be 21. So if your kids are working at McDonald's, if your kids are working at Burger King, Shoe Carnival, Fashion, Forever 21, or any place your kids are working, take them to the bank and have them open up an IRA and have them put $25 in there a month. Can you imagine how an account like that can grow if you start your kids saving when they start working? They can still buy their clothes and shoes and purses and all that kind of stuff, or whatever they do, whatever kids do with money these days. But yes, you can open up an individual retirement account if your children are working and they're not covered by a retirement account at their job, which is more than likely the case if they're working part-time. Have them take them to the bank, open up an IRA account and say, hey, every time we're going to do direct deposit from your check, or every time you get paid, you're going to put $25 in the bank. If I have to drive you here and put it in, because if they do that when they start working, and they start working at 16, and they continue to have that account and continue to put money in it and build on it, they're going to have the IRA in addition to any 401k they would have on the job. If you are an adult and you work part-time, or you work at a company that has no benefits, they don't even have a 401k where you work, go to a bank and open up an IRA and put $25 a month in. Start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. Again, you'll have to understand the funds, how those funds are set up, what your risk levels are, and all of that. But you're being proactive, and you're taking your future into your hands by saying, okay, this is where I'm going to start. This is what my goal is going to be, and this is how I'm going to manage it. And yes, managing your retirement account is on you. There's no one to do that for you. So that's why you have to really know and understand what's available. Now, if you open up an IRA account at a bank, and you take your kids to a bank and open up an account, or you open up an account for yourself, they will sit down and they will help you with financial literacy and help you understand what it is you're doing and how it works. So we really don't have any excuses not to attend to this because it's really important. So it's the first quarter of 2025. If you haven't done anything regarding your retirement accounts, retirement strategies, retirement savings, add it to your list of goals for 2025 and get busy. Thanks for letting me bring this topic up, and I hope it's encouraging for you. Thanks to all the listeners, fans, and supporters that come by every week and check out the episodes. I'd appreciate it if you guys like, share, subscribe, and review the podcast on all the major platforms. And thanks for stopping by. Happy listening.